Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. So this time, had a opportunity to shoot an extra video this week, and so I went out to my box that I know is mostly Superman type, and grabbed a big handful of books at random, and this is what I got. And I thought I would show them to you. Let's move these guys out of the way. There. We started off with not Superman at all, but Supergirl. This is Supergirl number 7 from 1973, guest starring Zatanna in The Sinister Snowman. There are no writing or art credits, but unfortunately, but I can tell, even though I don't know who did the pencils, I can tell that the inks were done by Vince Coletta. He may have done the pencils too, for all I know. But this is one time when it's his work actually helps, because Vince Coletta, his stuff usually looks best as his best work was always the romance comics, and it's because he largely, because he was a very fine draftsman in his own right, and but he had a way of making the ladies look very lovely. So almost everyone that he inked, even if the other stuff came out kind of stiff, and this time it's not so much so. Like he makes the ladies look very lovely, and the young men very, very handsome young men. And Zatanna and Supergirl are at odds, and then they wind up having to team up. It has something about a Yeti. I don't remember. It's been, now all these, it's probably been decades since I've read all these. So, and this one unfortunately has no cover. This is Action Comics number 410 from 1972. You know, it's older. I put the other one in front just because it's got a cover. I got this one when I was a kid, and I liked this lead story so much. I read it so many times over the years that eventually the cover just fell apart and fell off of it and got lost over the years. But I like this story. This is what they called at the time an imaginary story, but what we know of today as Elseworlds. And in this alternate reality, Superman is Clark Kent met a young lady who see if I can here we go. Met a young lady who turned out to be a witch. They got married, and then she revealed her witchiness to him, as possessing of certain magical powers, and he revealed that he was actually Superman, and they were concerned about what might happen with their son, with their baby when he was born, because she was pregnant at the time. Their respective natures might have an adverse effect. It did, because it was the cause of her death. And then his son, and stuff happens. Now this, of course, took place in the future. From that time would have been maybe 15 years later, and they had a thing about well, something's happening there. Some weird robot cultists. I don't know if it's some kind of like a cult, but they're all robots that are try to attack the boy, and he makes short work of them, and they wind up going out to eat on the moon at a restaurant on the moon colony. So they were expecting, of course, like many people, that by the mid '80s that there would be a functioning colony on the moon. But then stuff happens there, and it all turns out to be him. Anyway, so he was the cause, but there was a demon from another dimension sometimes possessing him and all this other stuff. Then it's got another story, and that was, of course, great artwork by Kurt Swan and Murphy Anderson, written by Cary Bates. Then it has a backup story of an untold tale of Superman when he was in college. And this is with pencils by someone named Kalman, who I am unfamiliar with, but it looks like he did a good job. And Murphy Anderson did the inks, which really made it look really nice. And I think they made a great art team on this story, almost as good as Swan and Anderson. And then it's got another backup story, which is a Nick Cardy story, Teen Titans story. And I think this is a reprint from the Teen Titans when they had their title. I'm not positive. Earlier in the '60s, I'm not positive. And then we go to the 100-page page issue of Action Comics number 443. Now, recently, someone else. Was it Higgy? Was it Higgy Pop Comics? I don't remember. Before I did that, I forgot to mention, got my books available on online. Bizarre Brain Comics Anthology. Bizarre Brain Comics presents Heroes. One with some humor and adventure. The other one all superhero and other kind of action stuff. $7.99 each. Available on Amazon or Barnes & Noble online store, etc. And I appreciate everyone who has ordered my one or both of my books. Now back to the Action Comics 443. I think it was Higgy, but I'm not positive. Don't hold me to it. He recently showed this because he had just recently acquired it. And I remember seeing that and I go, oh, I've got that one. Well, it just so happens that it happened to be in the middle of that fistful of books that I got. And this is a 100-page. There's an interesting lead story. Kurt Swan. Written by Elliot S. Magan. And it has the Justice League guesting in the story, and it's the story is at last Clark Kent superhero. So somehow Kent and Superman switch places. Superman does the news, and Clark Kent saves everybody, and it goes on. Doesn't matter. Then there are, events involves the other members of the Justice League. But then what's really neat is. And the rest of the book, it's all reprint stories after that. This is just a little thing about 7 threats in the seas. And they talk about the Sea Devils, which I never got more than 1 or 2 issues of earlier. And this is a reprint from, with art by great Russ Heath. This must have been from the early 60s. Sea Devils. Oh, that's cool. And then surprisingly, where is it? Sea Devils. A Western story, which is surprising for Action Comics, right? Matt Slade, Trail Boss, a Western story. Gardner Fox with Gil Kane art. And then we go on to an Adam Strange story. And then a cool Hawkman story, reprinted from the 60s Hawkman titles. And that's cool stuff. And then, what's after that? I've forgotten. Or was that the last one? Oh, Black Pirate, a Golden Age story of all, well, probably completely forgotten character. Some really nice artwork in this, though. By Sheldon Moldoff. Wow, Shelley did some good stuff. Then we have Superman number 260. This is from 27. This must have been about 74, 75. I've forgotten. Doesn't matter. But this is neat because this is kind of like Superman going up against. I always loved this story, this book, and this character Voldar. I forgot his name, Voldar, something like that. Voldemar of the Flame is kind of like roughly a Thor equivalent. This is Kurt Swan art and Murphy Anderson. Some great stuff here. So it's kind of like them going toe-to-toe, Soup's going toe-to-toe with Thor. But obviously he's not Thor, but he's a Thor-like character. That's some really good. And then it has a backup story from the, what's it? Yeah, the Fabulous World of Krypton. This was always a cool story, too. And that was really neat. And I loved this book. And this character showed up a few times later. 2 or 3 other times. Then we go to a few years later. Action Comics, number 532. Of course, starring Superman, because Superman has been in every issue of Action Comics. This is from 82. Big jump. With Ross Andrew cover, but it's Kurt Swan interior art. And I've said many times, Kurt Swan is my favorite Superman artist. And I got to meet him one time at a comic shop when he was having a signing with a bunch of other DC and independent. No, DC, yeah, DC creators, including Sergio Aragonés. And I got to meet Julia Schwartz, the editor of all this, so much of this stuff. Of course, Kurt Swan. I think there was not Carrie Bates. I've forgotten. Sergio Aragonés, and a couple others that I can't remember. And that was really cool. Then we go to now not really Superman, but this is Superman Presents, and they had this is one of, if not the first, comic book mini-series planned as a limited series of Superman Presents The Phantom Zone. I can't remember if it was The Phantom Zone or another one that was the first one. I've forgotten. I've mentioned it before. But this is stuff, Kryptonian stuff, background on a bunch of the characters who are in the Phantom Zone, and many of whom wind up being villains for Superman. So this is issues 1, and of course it's great artwork by pencils by Gene Colan, and it's some great, and it's Tony DeZuniga did the inks, and they're two, and I love Tony DeZuniga's work, whether he's penciling and inking or just inking, and their work together just works so well together. It's some really great stuff. So that's issue 1. Issue 2, issue 3, and issue 4. As I said, some really cool stuff. Of course, in Gene Colan, he was just masterful, and it works pretty well for this. Even though Superheroes is not this where his work shined the best. Of course, it was all the detective and horror mystery stuff that his style shined the most, as far as I'm concerned, anyway. Especially in Tomb of Dracula. Then we have, they weren't all together, so I don't know where the others are. They're probably in that box too. This is from 88, issue 4 of The World of Krypton, a mini-series with doing background on Krypton. This is the Krypton after the reboot, after the Crisis on Infinite Earths. So it's written by John Byrne with art by Mike Mignola, and Garzon, I've forgotten his first name, who used to do there's some really nice stuff here. But I only have right here issue 4 of that. But then we have issue 3 of The World of Smallville, which was a follow-up miniseries to the World of Krypton miniseries, with background on Smallville, and this is kind of partial inspiration for the TV series Smallville, from the time Clark with the Kents up until the time they got Clark, baby Clark, and raised him as he was being raised. And in the midst of all this, the robotic manhunters, who were law enforcement for the Guardians of the Universe before they started the Green Lantern Corps, but they're still out there, and they play a big part in this story. And again, this is written by John Byrne, and I can't remember. Oh yeah, Kurt Schaffenberger did some really some of his best work as far as I'm concerned on the pencils, with Alfredo Alcala as inker. And because it's clearly Kurt Schaffenberger, but it doesn't have the slightly more cartoonish stylization that he is known for. Then we skip a few more years. These were this is Adventures of Superman 495 from 1992. Now at this point in time, they were the stories didn't necessarily continue, but from they were doing. I'm not sure what they're doing now, but they had a Superman title every week, so they would have 52 issues featuring Superman every year. I said every week, I meant every year. And every week a Superman comic would come out. This is, of course, Adventures of Superman. And but to keep things straight, they were putting the number for the week number up in the corner. 1992. This is part 39, and they weren't necessarily continued but some of the groundwork or secondary plots and stuff would carry through the different titles. So this is 495 for Adventures of Superman. Then Action Comics. At that time they were calling it Superman in Action Comics. It's a 682. Awesome. And of course that was Roger Stern, Dusty Abel, Terry Austin, and this one had Jerry Ordway pencils, and Tom Grommet. No, Tom Grommet did pencils. Jerry Ordway was writing, and I really liked this period in the Superman stuff. So is it part 40? It's 682 of action. Then just the Superman, and it says the Wave Rider at Vanishing Point. Dan Jurgens and Brett Breeding. Again, some nice artwork and some good storytelling all around. And follow that up with the Adventures of Superman. This is part 40, week 43, and features Mixus Pitalik. I know a lot of people have difficult. It took me a long time. I can't even remember how I learned. I think it was in one of the letters pages, or one of the other pages, text pages that they had in an issue, which actually wrote out how to pronounce his name. And so I know a lot of people want to call him Mixelplick because they don't know how to, but it's Mixus Pitalik. I know on the Superman animated series, Mixie himself pronounced it Mixie Spitlick, but that's not really right. It sounds gross and disgusting. It's Mixus Pitalik. By Jerry Ordway. Then again, Action Comics, Superman and Action Comics number 683. Ooh, it's got a Night of the Jackal. Looks like a werewolf. See how that looks. Oh, this is some really nice artwork in this one. If I can get it over. Yeah, The Trial of the Jackal. Roger Stern. Jackson Busey. Darius Baudier. Some nice stuff in that. And then we skip another 3 years. When they're still doing the triangle thing. This is week 10 from 1995 is Superman number 98. Of course, it had rebooted the number system earlier on, but they always kept the same numbering for Action Comics. So, and again by Jurgens and Rubinstein. And still some nice artwork Like I said, I really liked this period in the Superman saga. So those are, this is taking a lot longer than I intended. So again, this is all I've got for us for this time for some good super fun of the Superman and Superman related titles. Just a big fistful. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please like, share, and subscribe, and do leave a comment down below. Did you like that era in Superman, or which era of Superman in the comics did you like best? Who is your favorite Superman artist and or writer? Let me know in the comments below. Anything else that you can think of, or any questions or anything like that that I might be able to answer or not. Let me know in the comments below. And remember, comics are art.